I'm in a big problem. I just bought a property. It's about to get transferred, and I don't know if I'm going to make a profit or a loss.
I listened to an estate agent who told me that this property is for investment purposes and it has a tenant inside. Now it's about to get transferred, and I'm asking myself, is it a good idea to actually inherit a tenant or not? You are tuned into Nong. My name is Nell.
And my name is Lebu.
I'm so excited about today's video because there's so much information that you will get from this. So best be sure that you watch until the end. And I hope that you guys have subscribed.
Most definitely. So now we have something that's actually awesome for August, right? So now if you do actually want to know what we're going to be doing in August, make sure that you do actually keep tuned.
And also our next event, we're already planning towards it. So guys, you best be sure. We know that there's so much happening in the world right now, but please do stay positive and let's make sure that you invest like a pro.
Now, what's that first thing that you would actually want people to actually take into consideration before buying their first properties?
I mean, as a beginner, there was something that you buy a property and then already, like, let's say you're still looking for a property, you speak to the estate agent, they tell you that there's a tenant in, and then you already thinking that, you know what, oh, wow, this is going to be a smooth sale because I don't have to be looking for tenants. Because as a first-time buyer, you're already stressing that where am I going to get tenants on this planet? Like, the world is too much. You're not even sure of which platform to use. So now you get to a situation whereby the estate agent calls you and they're like, you know what, with the property that we are selling, there is already a tenant in place. So that might sound great until you face the practicality of what that means. There's so many things to actually consider when inheriting a tenant. It's not just inheriting the cash flow, you're also inheriting the contract. You're also inheriting problems if there might seem to be problems with that tenant.
Most definitely. So now this is one of the situations that we've actually recently went through, right? If you haven't actually watched that video, we'll actually link it up here or on the description. What had happened is that we had this property that we actually bought, and now from this particular property, the estate agent promised us that this person is actually bringing in so much within that particular property. However, once transfer actually took place, now it was a problem that we didn't actually get that cash flow that was actually promised. So now something that you actually need to do always is that you need the contract in terms of the lease agreement in that particular property. Number two, you also need to actually vet these people before you take them in. Because now you don't really understand if this person that's living in here, it's one of the family members. So they might have the contract. However, if it is a family member and they're not actually paying rent on a monthly basis. So now that leaves you with that particular problem. So now make sure that you actually look out for that.
I mean, as much as it's exciting to inherit the tenant, you also need to understand what are you inheriting, especially when it comes to the contract side. I just want to emphasize on the contract side is that, as you did mention, that how long are they in that property? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Or they are just about to actually get out? The reason why I'm saying is that you'll never know that why did the seller sell the property. Let us just say that Lebo was my tenant and then he's not paying me on time. And then I'm frustrated as the landlord because I'm missing my pay dates. I end up saying, you know what, maybe property investing is not for me because of my tenant. So when I sell the property, there's an agreement between myself and my tenant. Now you as the buyer are not sure why am I selling, because I'm going to tell the estate agent that, you know what, I just want out, only to find out that Lebo has been giving me problems. So when inheriting such a problem, my problem now becomes your problem, and you don't want to find yourself in that situation as a property investor. So it's very important to understand the terms and conditions. Which date are they getting paid and when should they pay you? Because why am I saying that? Let's just say that all our expenses amounted to about 12,000 on a monthly basis with this property, only to find out, say, we are getting paid on the 15th. However, now my agreement with the bank is on the 5th. Already, as you can see, that is a problem. So in terms of the contract, you need to understand, when did they actually say that they're going to pay you? Number two, if they don't pay you on the date agreed, what are the necessary steps that you can take? Because you'll never know what are the necessary steps, only to find out you go knock and you make a noise, you go against the rules, and then you find yourself in trouble. So it's very important to understand the contract as a whole before you just inherit the tenant.
Most definitely. So now the second point that we'd actually like to highlight is that if you actually just bought a property and you do not know if you are actually going to be cash flowing positive or negative, you basically gambled on that particular property. So what we mean by gambled is that you were not really sure if this property is actually going to cash flow positive or negative. So now how do you actually get rid of this uncertainty that you're not really sure? You need to know the numbers behind your particular property. So now say for instance, this particular property that you just bought, the expenses are at 7,000. It basically means that you need to get an income that is actually greater than 7,000. Right? So now if you're getting 7,500, you know that already the cash flow that you will be getting is 500. So what you need to make sure of is that looking at this 500 that is actually coming to you, looking at the return on investment, is it able to actually beat what you are actually getting right now at the bank? Because it doesn't really make sense for me to take out my money from the bank if I have 100,000 at the bank, to take out this 100,000 and give it to this property, and at the same time I'm losing that particular amount of money. So now I need to make sure that if I'm getting 1,000 at the bank with 100,000 actually invested, I need to also make sure that I'm actually getting something that's greater than 1,000 from this particular property before I actually buy. So now property investors, we're always speaking about make your money before you actually buy that particular property.
I mean, what you're saying right now, Leo, is that we're investing at the end of the day. The question that I'm going to ask myself, which investment is best? So is it better off in this vehicle or that vehicle?
Yeah.
So that you're able to take that decision that, you know what, I'm looking at this type of investment and this is where I'm going. I truly believe with our engagements with property investors, this is where we've been seeing that a lot of people are lacking, because we look at property as an investment. However, we don't know at what percentage is the investment. That's where it becomes dangerous, because you start investing, you take out your money, take it out of this investment, put it in that investment, not understanding that the first investment was better than the second one. I hope that made sense. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is that be consciously aware of the investment side of property, because a whole lot of people just look at the property, owning the property, instead of looking at the investment side of the property. Why I'd actually like to say this, it actually differs with a whole lot of strategies. Hence, it's very important to invest in yourself as a property investor. So if you would actually like us to assist you in your property journey, hit us on the link below, either on Calendly, whereby you'll be setting a meeting with us, or you can send us an email on the link below. So let's go back to the importance of investing in yourself and understanding. When you are looking at development, you need to understand what is the investment style of development. When you are looking at distressed, you need to understand what will it need when I'm moving to distressed, because I can tell you right now, you're going to need either credit or cash in terms of fixing the property. When you are looking at auction, you need to understand how much money will I need. I can tell you right now, through our journey, we understand that this is just one of the things that we always discuss. Auction is not as simple as saying that, you know what, I'm going to an auction, I'm getting everything cheaper. You really need cash in that regard. If not cash, you need credit. Because at the end of the day, you need to actually put money before, you need to actually settle that amount that you bid it for, and also renovations before you even get tenants in, you need money. So you can see that it's quite cash intensive. So at the end of the day, even with that being said, as much as you are getting it cheaper, but at the end of the day, what is the investment side to it? So if, as I did mention, that if you want us to have a conversation about that, hit us up.
So the last thing that we'd actually like to speak about today in terms of how do you actually go into the rental business is that what criteria do you have of actually investing in this particular property? Most of the time we hear people saying that, you know what, I just bought the property because it's in a good location, or I just bought a property because it has a swimming pool, I just bought a property because it has back rooms. Something that you need to take into consideration is that that's not the only thing that should be in your particular criteria. You have a lot of things that should be in your criteria. Like if I'm buying a property in a particular area, I need to know that who am I actually targeting. So now say for instance, we're looking at a township investing, right? And now with this particular township investing, this property is a nice house. However, looking at the demographics of the people living around that particular township, nobody's actually willing to pay 20,000 on a monthly basis. So now when you have that particular property that requires you to charge a rental income of 20,000, you already shot yourself in the foot, because that's not the right location to actually look into for that particular target market, right? So now say for instance, if you are now looking at having a property in an A-class area, now you can actually start saying that, you know what, I'm looking for the right property to charge people 20,000. So now that's something that you need to take into consideration, that do you really have a criteria to use to actually check which property is the right property to actually be buying?
I mean, with criteria, it goes without saying that why are we buying into this investment? Why are we taking out our hard-earned cash or our hard-earned credit? Why are we taking out our hard-earned credit to investing it in this property? Now, when you're looking at that, you're actually using risk management. That's risk management within property investing. So we've said with people, I hope that you're not one of those people that you bought the property and then when we're having a conversation that what informed you to buy the property. I don't want to be harsh on this, so it's very important to understand what measures did you take in advance. That does it tick this, does it tick that, does it tick this. Have a checklist that whereby it's going to help you in terms of mitigating the challenges that might come up, because a lot of things in property investing can be foreseen. A lot of things can be foreseen. So if you take all of these risks, put them on paper, and then as you're viewing, as you're running your numbers, as you're speaking with the estate agent, that's when you're collecting your data, your rapport. So after that, you can actually take that, especially with the viewing, because now that's when you're truly going to see what the property is for yourself. Because I mean, you know Instagram, guys. You know how Facebook is, only to find out when you get there, it's a totally different story. So it's very important that you guys have a checklist. Understand that does this checklist help decrease the risks that come with property investing? Because I know, imagine this being your first time, you get a deal worth 1 million that you need, whether it's credit or whether it's your cash, then you're supposed to get into this deal. Now you are panicking because you know what? You don't know what the possible outcomes might be. So that's when that checklist will come into play. When you go to view, you tick everything that you need to and then take a decision, because at the end of the day, what this checklist does for you is that it removes emotions again. We're always speaking about removing your emotions, but guys, it really does get difficult when you get to the practicality of it, because even with us, every time we view, emotions still come in. However, now when you're viewing, emotions come in, you love the property, however you have a checklist, you cannot lie. So that's when you know that you are truly removing your emotions from this.
So now, give the people what we are actually about to do for them.
So next week we have an announcement for you guys, property investors. We have a big challenge. Hope you guys will be tuned into next week's video, whereby we will be making an announcement. And I know for sure that there's so much value within this announcement that we want to make, because August is going to be a very good month for you and us.
So if you've watched this far, please do put down on comments pro, and also leave us a like and a comment saying pro. Nong,
Invest like a pro.